Yeah, let's start. Basically, what I want to do is basically talk a bit bring the Pro 14 angle into it, obviously, about what type of competition it is. You played, obviously, Stormers, etc., before you moved over there. You've got quite a long history with Scotland, I know before.
Yeah.
And that, first, just your experiences, what was it like going there? And you're close to qualifying for Scotland now.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't too sort of apprehensive about moving to the UK because I did go to school there for a little bit. Lived overseas before, so wasn't too worried about the change of environment. I know quite a lot about Scotland. Obviously, good mates with Hugh Jones, who played for Scotland at the time, so had some kind of connection there. But yeah, just pretty easy sort of decision, and then since then really been enjoying it up there. Been there for 2 seasons now, and so took a bit of getting used to initially, sort of acclimatizing to the different, so the game's a bit different up there, I'd say. But yeah, really loving it now, and I think it's been a good move for me.
Even though this is a cool day by Joburg standards, you must be quite enjoying it in comparison to the States.
I think the whole team is, it's been a good week for us, getting a bit of sunshine. I think some of the guys needed to put a bit of extra sun cream on yesterday. Got a bit burned quite quickly, but it's nice to be here, but loving Scotland. So.
If you look at, I mean, there's a question I ask a lot of guys, but the perception of European rugby, of Scottish rugby, of Pro 14 in South Africa is probably a skewed perception in terms that we think it's obviously weather conditions influence the rugby, but it's not quite. Well, I've watched. It's not quite as dour and forward-based as it should be. I mean, I suppose when the weather conditions are like that, I mean, there's a lot of try sport in Pro 14. There's a lot.
I'd say in Pro 14 in particular, the rugby is actually of an incredibly high standard and not just sort of forwards orientated. It's, if you look at Glasgow in particular, we're one of the best attacking teams in Europe. So I'd say Pro 14 maybe from a South African perspective isn't the most known league. Probably because we don't get it as much on Supersport over here. But the rugby's been great, and I've actually been really impressed with the level. I'd say it's some of the toughest rugby I've played so far, including European Cup, which is, I'd say, quite close to Test rugby levels. So.
And how would you compare it to your days at the Stormers in terms of the quality and intensity?
Yeah, I'd say it's a different game, just because how long the season goes on for over there. So you're going to have highs and lows in the season. You can't peak for 30 weeks in a row. Whereas at the Stormers, Super Rugby was 15, 16 weeks. So you kind of just go for one no-holds-barred approach. But when we do go to those sort of the derby games or the big games against Leinster, Scarlets, I find that the intensity is really up there, almost more physical than Super Rugby, I'd say. So Super Rugby is a lot quicker, but Pro 14's been really physical,
You guys came close last year, very close to winning 2 points, I think it was. What has that done to the squad? I mean, looking ahead, I mean, just has that sort of lit the fire there to maybe go one better this season?
Yeah, I think definitely I'd say when Dave Rennie, head coach, came in, he's brought in massive aspiration for the squad. We're really disappointed the year before to lose in the semi-final. And obviously to go one better but still one short of winning the league was a bit of disappointment at the end. And we've had a long time to think about that final. And I'd say this year is a great opportunity for us to put it one better.
The Scottish rugby, I mean, they don't have the same sort of depth and resources, I suppose, in a lot of ways that South African rugby talent coming through, etc. But what they do with their rugby is extremely successful. I mean, you look at Edinburgh and you guys, both teams are very strong and very successful. What is the recipe behind it? What do they do that teams around here don't do in your experience while you're here?
I'd say there are certainly less rugby players in Scotland, but they do nurture the talent probably a lot better. I'd say Scottish rugby players, from my experience with them for the past years, are incredibly hard-working. And what they don't have maybe that a South African might have naturally in terms of size, for example, they work incredibly hard to get to that level. I think in South Africa it's so easy to be lost when you are a talented player because there are so many talented players, you know.
and I suppose in saying that it's a lot easier to identify the good players in Scotland because it's from a fewer pool, smaller pool.
You just re-signed the deal at the University of the League.
Yeah.
So you're very close to qualifying for Scotland. Is it next season?
Yeah, sometime in the next 12 months probably.
That's obviously an aspiration for you. Just your thoughts on that? And I mean, there's a lot of, it's happening more and more that we see South African born players or South African players.
Yeah, I'd say you see it with players all around the world now, but I mean, it's always been an aspiration for me to play international rugby, that's for sure. But I wouldn't say I've given it too much thought, just trying to play well for Glasgow. I mean, if I do play well for them, maybe give myself an opportunity in the future. But I mean, Glasgow are the ones who contracted me, so I'm focusing on my club rugby at the moment and trying to play well for them.
I mean, Josh was there, Yepinel, and now Piers Kuman's also going that route.
Yeah.
Also looking
Alan Dull as well.
Yeah, Alan Dull. There's a bunch of South Africans there, so I mean, you could almost end up in a situation in a year or two's time that Pierre also competes to be a South African front row almost.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I think it's great for whoever the player is to take the opportunities that they're given, and I look forward to competing with whoever if I ever get to that stage.
Any regrets on ever leaving South Africa for that, or dream?
No, I mean, I think it's a case of the grass is never necessarily greener, it's what you make of it. And I would say I've never had any regrets in what I've done in the past, but there are certain times where I miss Cape Town, miss my family, but also feel that I've made the right decision in moving over.
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose we concentrate a lot about South Africans in those teams coming back. But I mean, it must be an interesting experience for you to watch your teammates come out to South Africa and their reactions, as you say, to the weather and to everything. Because it's at this time of year back home. Well, it's not. I suppose it's not just maybe in a month or two's time.
Yeah.
The weather hasn't turned that bad yet.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty close to getting. Well, I'd say on average the weather's been a lot better here than what has been in Glasgow over the past couple of weeks. But it's quite a strange feeling sort of coming back here knowing so much about the Cheetahs when 80% of the team knows nothing about them, apart from obviously what we've seen in the reviews, etc., but haven't really played against them. So it's quite funny, but it's good. Like myself, Brandon Thompson, obviously Hugh Jones, Carl Steyn, have all played against, we've all played Currie Cup, we've all played against the Cheetahs before, so we're obviously putting our hands up in meetings and trying to give as much info as we can.
Is there any funny stories, anything that you've seen that's made you laugh at how your teammates have reacted? Or?
Not really. I mean, I think one of the funniest things is no one can really wrap their head around the exchange rates. All sort of see 200 Rand and think 200 pounds and just get really confused. But yeah, no, I wouldn't say, it's been a pretty quiet week, so no funny stories.
No, I suppose, I mean, rugby players aren't known for their mats.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
So. Anything else you want South Africans to know that you think they don't know about Pro 14 at Glasgow, about rugby in the north compared to here? They don't realise?
I mean, for South Africans, I'd like to see them get behind the Cheetahs and the Kings a bit more, you know. For all the overseas teams who are coming down here, I'd like to see some big crowds and some big backing for those two teams when we play them. I mean, they're in a different competition, and you'd want the Cheetahs and the Kings to do well in the competition, so I'd like to see them get some more support.
I suppose it goes hand in hand with winning. You've experienced big crowds in South Africa, you've played for them before, and the teammates, it must be a weird feeling for them because the stadiums are smaller, it's packed, to come here and say Bloemfontein and the stadium's half empty, that can't be great either. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The argument there is whether if you're going to play more games in the season, if you move it to a smaller facility and then play your big games in a big stadium, what everybody in Europe does. But I mean, the Currie Cup final looked like it was a decent crowd, and maybe that will spur on more support for the Cheetahs this season. I hope so.
Anything else I haven't asked you that you want to know?
That's good.
It's as easy as that.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, man.